My life is just kids' birthday parties now. Every weekend, kids' birthday parties.
You're at that prime age.
And it's lovely, and it's fun.
You're just a few years away from them not inviting you at all.
I know. Well, no, I'm there now. They invite my kids, and I just come along. They're like, leave your dad at home. This dad, who I kind of know, he's trying to cut this nice layered cake, and he's really struggling.
Oh, sure.
Right? He's got this razor-sharp Japanese knife, and he's doing. I was like, this guy's going to cut himself.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, do you need some help? And he's like, yes, please. And I was like, okay, let me help you with this. And I was like, there are 2 layers to this. Like, you have to take it apart. Like, there's a wooden dowel in the middle that holds the layer. Right. And I only know this because my wife is a baker. So I'm taking it apart, and he's like, oh, look at that. There's wood on the inside. And I just look at him. I'm like, well, yeah, I knew that. I was like, I was an altar boy. And he let out a fucking laugh that I haven't heard in a long time. And I was like, you get it.
Quiet, please.
And he was like, I was raised Catholic. And he was just fucking laughing his ass off.
In 4.
I'm not Catholic. I have 3, no idea what that means.
2.
Presents a truly terrible podcast. Welcome to Nonsense Season 3, Episode 13. I'm Jeff Parker.
I'm Stu Little.
This is our take on the week's business, tech, and entertainment headlines. This time, the smartphone tariffs are off.
No. They're back on.
Nvidia says it will build AI supercomputers in America for the first time ever.
Wait, the tariffs are off again.
China halts critical rare earth exports as trade war intensifies.
Oh, no, they're back on again. Damn it.
Also, our big story later this week is about how we buy and consume things from brick and mortar to online to manufacturer direct and on demand.
QVC, don't forget about QVC.
And speaking of demands, it's tax day. Did you get your taxes sent in?
Nah, why do that on time? I like to be way late.
How's your week going?
So far, so good. I mean, at least we're out of the earthquakes of yesterday. That was fun and exciting.
Wow.
Big surprise on that in California.
A swarm, they call that.
You know, my week was great. I very much appreciate you inviting my wife and I to see Dodgers history.
Didn't know you were going to see history, did you?
I assumed you knew. Normally, I'd be like, oh, we're going to go watch them like win the World Series. It's going to be incredible. No, we're going to watch them lose 16-0 against the Cubs.
It's been something like 1962 since we've suffered a bigger loss.
That's nuts. I did enjoy, though, towards the end, when I'm like, why is that guy pitching like I would pitch? And then my wife's like, that's a position player. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh, shit.
The hero.
You really know you're going to lose when you're just putting in some dude off shortstop to lob the ball in.
We do that all the time. When you give up on the game, you don't want to burn up pitchers.
Of course.
So
I totally get it.
Happens all the time.
I totally get it.
It's like fun, too.
Their version of the mercy rule.
Yeah.
My favorite were the fans that were then talking shit to the Cubs fans about getting struck out by a position player, and then that dude smashed a home run.
Right.
And just came back and pointed at the fan. I was like, yeah, you really shouldn't talk shit. Just enjoy your loss. The best part of this, of course, was that we could not get anybody to watch our kids, so I left them home, not alone, but almost the same, with my father to watch. And I said, look, all you got to just get them in bed. Just order pizza, get their pajamas on them, get them in bed. That's it. That's all you got to do.
What's bedtime for your kids? Around 7:30?
Usually 7:30, 8, somewhere in there. Weekends, you can go a little bit later. But, and I was like, Dad, you got this. You're fine. We get home at it's like 9:40. I turned to my wife. I stopped the car. I turned to my wife and I was like, well, what do you think? Do you think they're like in their pajamas? Do you think they're asleep? And she's like, I think they're looking at us. And I look over and my youngest son is peering out of the blinds from the kitchen, looking at us. And I was like, oh,
nice work,
shit.
Dad.
Yeah. So we get inside. And they're so cute. They were both basically in bed. They were just waiting for us to come home and put them to sleep. So it really made me giggle, but it was fun.
That's adorable.
How about you? How was your week?
Fine. I'm still scrambling to order everything I possibly can before tariffs kick in or don't kick in. Either way, I still need to, I'm buying things I'd be buying anyway.
It's like roulette. You got to load up the cart, and then when you hear the tariffs are off, then you order. It's just like this.
No, I'm ordering either way. I'm just buying things I would be buying in the future anyway. I'm just speeding that process up. And now I'm spending all my time on AliExpress.
Yeah.
Because all of those items I realize I'm not going to be able to get without tariffs.
I have let the monster out of you. I'm very proud of myself for doing this, because going to AliExpress is like walking to a giant flea market.
Oh, totally.
It's just online.
You got to discount whatever you're going to get by about 50%. Yeah. Half of it's going to be garbage. Yeah. Half of it will be lovely.
Totally. But you're still in the money. That's the best part. You're still well into the money. You could throw away 90% of the shit you buy, and you're still at 50% of the cost of Amazon. It's great. I love it.
But they're going to be the prime target of tariffs. I can't imagine they're going to allow that stuff in.
I don't know. These guys, man, they are going to just route this stuff. I already see them routing orders to different countries. Oh, and I think what they're doing.
I have an order coming in through Canada.
Oh yeah,
tomorrow.
That's right. Yeah. So I think what they're doing, since it's all drop shipped out of China, I think they're like, we're going to drop ship it to Canada Post, and then it looks like it's coming from Canada, and you pay the Canada tariff rate, which is absolutely brilliant. Like, this is going to be a game of whack-a-mole that we are not going to win. Well, I mean, you and I as consumers are going to win.
I don't think we're going to win anyway. I mean, everything ends up, even if you buy it from Canada, ends up being 10% more, which is
10% more. Yeah,
but it's a solid rate of inflation if you look at it as,
of course,
what what it will be for the consumer. It's 10% more they're paying.
But if you take my entire total of AliExpress orders over the past 10 years and added 10%, it would be like $12.60.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
I'll just prepay it.
But everything else everyone buys, if you had an inflation rate of 10%, you would have a really big recession.
Of course.
People suddenly could not buy 10% of the things they can buy.
I don't know why you don't listen to me. You're just going to be able to go to Bakersfield and just get whatever electronics parts you want. Someone's just going to make it there for you.
Sure, they
Problem solved. You'd be like, I want 6 resistors at $12. Okay, fine. Make Radio Shack great again. Perfect.
$12 for 6 resistors?
Exactly. That's the new world we're in. It's fine.
What I was going to say, what part of the timeline are you on? Are you from 100 years ago?
Well, no, that's what we call that's a farm to table resistor, right? It was handcrafted by an artisan in the greater Central Valley of California. That's the world we're in. You're literally going to be bragging about the artisan value of your small electronic device.
So my smartphone is going to cost me $700,000.
Oh, yeah. No, but you'll get a 30-year note for it. It'll be fine. Just don't drop it. All of a sudden, that Apple Care looks really precious when you have it.
It's the same $105 it's always been.
Totally. Well, they might catch on to that. Yeah. I'm pretty sure once AIG gets their hands on that, they're going to fuck that up nicely for us.
Should we get to our headlines?
This is going nowhere. So, yes, we absolutely should.
U.S. Actually, semiconductors still face a special type of tariff.
I mean, isn't this a perfect example of like it's on again, off again? They're like, no, those go into a special bucket. And they're like, it's the same bucket as the other buckets.
Oh, man, how to make this all about you. This is the ref who doesn't call things the same on both sides just so that they can make the game all about them.
Yeah, but we know that. We know that going into it. I mean, this is like, there was a whole, day or two in between when this was amplified. Like, at least you got a little bit of a reprieve.
There's no tariff. There's a tariff. There's no tariff. Wait a minute. I'm not getting enough attention. There's a tariff again.
So what? This is for like all semiconductors?
This is smartphones, computers, and chips. Now they're going to be tariffed under the semiconductor category.
Like,
I don't know what that is. That's a new category to me. I didn't know there was a semiconductor category. But
it's next to the potent potables on the Jeopardy board.
I'm sure of it.
Reciprocal tariffs for 300, please. Let's see. Yeah.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said on Sunday that these products would be moved to the semiconductor category and subject to tariffs.
Yes.
Quote, these products are going to be part of the semiconductor sectoral tariffs, which are coming in a month or so, Lutnick told ABC News, adding that semiconductors are going to have their own separate way of being considered.
Because of course they will. This isn't just semiconductors though, right? There's all sorts of shit that's tucked into these buckets. So it's like, okay, semiconductors bad because you need those to, make things that are electronic that are important to us.
Does the military have to pay these same taxes?
Great question. Do they get an exemption? Don't know. It's a great question.
Because they kind of need these parts.
Every time I see like a car with U.S. government plates parked at a meter that's expired in L.A., I just wonder if it gets a ticket. Well, like what just happens? Like what do you do there?
It's the city who writes those tickets, not the federal government.
So this was coming after we were like, well, hey, we're not going to apply these to semiconductors and lumber and I think pharmaceuticals. But then the next day they're like, no, just kidding. It's going to come soon.
It's going to have their own category.
And like, by the way, fucking pharmaceuticals, like that's great. People are going to do great with that. Like that's just your health. Don't worry. You'll be fine.
Do we get a lot of pharmaceuticals that are made in China?
There's a decent amount that are made, not just in China, they're just made outside of the U.S.
Yeah.
Ex-U.S. Yeah. Here we are.
Do we have comparable chemistry here in the United States? I mean, some of these things in electronics, there's no way to make this.
Some of it's not easy as chemistry, right? If you've got a patent on a drug and it's not made here, it's made by a company who might be based in, I don't know, Europe. What are you going to do?
Trump has raised China's tariffs to 145%.
I'm shocked it's still under 400%.
Yeah. On Truth Social, Trump added to the confusion by arguing that there was no tariff exemption announced on Friday. Except he did. He said smartphones were exempt.
Yeah, I don't even try to follow this. Like, again, I'm trying to apply logic and reason to a scenario where there is no logic and reason. So that makes me the idiot. So I just don't do that anymore.
Quote, these products are subject to the existing 20% fentanyl tariffs. Here's the thing. Are you taking fentanyl? Is that how we're getting these tariffs?
That's okay. See, the 20% fentanyl tariff
now
bucket,
it's making sense.
That's actually a fund. It's a fentanyl tariff fund, and it's the fund to buy fentanyl. That's that.
Now I'm getting
you cracked the nut on this. Now this makes sense. Yeah, it's really hard to not use the G word when I think about this. It feels very, very grifty.
Yeah,
is it just that's what it kind of feels like.
It just feels like pay attention to me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, kiss the ring, right? Like kiss the ring. I totally get it. I mean, the good news for me, this is a very micro view, is like I have enough electronics. I'm good for a while. Like I don't need.
I've got boatloads coming, and I've got boatloads that have arrived, so I'll be good for a while myself.
And people are like, yeah, but your new car is more expensive. I'm like, are you kidding? My average car age is north of 2 decades. Like,
yeah, well, that's you.
There's barely like electronics on them. It's just me. Like me in particular, I'm in this weird corner of technological advancement and past. What would you call it? Historian.
Retro cars.
Yes, exactly. Where I'm just like, I'm fine. The one E-Prime I need that holds a fuel map on one of my cars, I'm pretty sure I can get for less than $1. I'll pay the tariff on it. I'll be okay.
You can make it yourself at this point.
Totally. Yeah. Here's why this is sort of not worth us talking about here, because it's going to be completely different next week. So
sure.
I don't really know. This is it's like the never-ending story of podcasts. We can just talk about this and it's never going to end.
I like that Nintendo and Apple both have done what I've done, which is they've ordered a bunch of things. They've stocked up in advance. They've brought a ton of things here.
Yeah.
Now, it's not going to amount to much for either one of them because they're such big companies. They move so much product.
I feel like what that really does for them is it allows them to kick the can on having to figure out how they're going to address the problem, which is totally reasonable, right? So you don't have to raise prices or something.
Buy some time.
But it's a decent amount of hysteria. There's going to be something that's, I'm going to say when the dust settles, not that the dust is going to settle in 6 or 9 months, but man, think about corporate finance reporting and how you're going to be like, oh, we did great in the second quarter of 2025. And you're like, well, yeah, because everybody accelerated 2 years of purchasing into one quarter.
Right.
So you're going to have this like gangbuster quarter that I'm sure is going to be viewed as, look what awesomeness here the tariffs did. Look at how good these businesses are. It's like, yeah, but you got to average it with the next, 5 quarters of flatness.
Yeah, sure.
So
I'm sure I've caused some of that pop for many of these.
You have been part of the problem. Yes, you have. Absolutely.
Apple stock popped 6% yesterday.
Yeah, I get it. But
because of people thought the tariff exemptions were off.
Yeah.
And now they're back on.
Zoom out. That's the thing. Like when folks are like, oh, but the Dow, it had its best day in 10 years. And I'm like, zoom out. See a little button there where it says 5D? Click on that. Now what do you see? And they're like, well, but we don't look at that. All right.
And the other headline was that Apple is silent as Trump promises impossible U.S.-made iPhones. You can't make an iPhone in the U.S.
You can. You absolutely can. But again,
Steve Jobs said 1,000 years ago, those people who we need to be here to do that, they're not here. Those jobs aren't coming back.
No, you've left an important part out of that sentence. You can make an iPhone in the U.S. You can't make an iPhone in the U.S. that folks in the U.S. want to buy.
Well, there are materials I can't even get in the U.S. just from the U.S.
You just make it out of paper mache. It'll be fine.
Oh, okay.
It's a one-time use phone. It's okay. I mean, no, I'm being super sarcastic here. Yeah, there's all sorts of supply chain problems. There's also build problems, right? Like the assembly problems. And again, nobody really wants that job.
You don't have the quantity of engineers that you need here.
Well, not just engineers, but the whole point is like, what are the jobs you want in the U.S.? This is the question we're not willing to talk about or address. Like Apple has a metric shit ton of engineers and product engineers in the U.S. They're making a much, much higher wage than anybody ex-U.S. on the assembly side. So it's like, those are the jobs that I would think you would want here. But
the engineers on the assembly side, that's a different kind of engineer, and they exist in quantity in China. They do not exist in quantity here.
Yeah, I got a hard... I don't know if I'd apply the E word to, like, assembly isn't engineering, it's assembly.
Oh, no, there's a lot of engineering involved to how assembly happens efficiently.
To how assembly happens, yes, but to actually assembly itself, I'm not sure those are... I would stop short of calling those engineers. The guy that brings me my food isn't the chef. Like,
No, but
he's
think
food adjacent. He's definitely near the chef.
Engineers. And
he knows what a chef looks like, but I just want a little more ketchup. That's all. Like that's sorry.
So why is Apple remaining silent as these tariffs come on and come off?
Because they have learned the rule that I have not, which is that if you've got nothing helpful to say, don't say anything.
Just pretend it's not happening.
That's the world. Well, what could they possibly say? They don't really have a path forward on this, I don't believe. So there's no benefit in them saying that right now. It's not like it's going to change policy. They're better off just keeping minding their P's and Q's.
Will there be purchasing tourism? Will I go up to Canada to get my next smartphone?
I think you'll 100% see more of that. How could you not?
And I'll come back with my smartphone in my pocket, and magically when I plug my SIM in, it works.
I mean, at some point, I'm not saying this is how the numbers are going to work, but let's just say your average iPhone, $1,500, $1,200, whatever. If that goes up $1,000 and my round trip ticket to Scotland is $600, well, I'll take the free trip to Scotland and buy the phone and bring it back.
And enjoy a little golf in Scotland too while you're there.
Well, fuck, I'll go to Dishoom and just eat everything in Dishoom for 6 days, which is what I do every time I go to Scotland. By the way, Dishoom serves breakfast, and it's one of the best breakfasts you'll ever have. So if you're ever at anywhere there's a Dishoom in Edinburgh or otherwise, please go eat the breakfast there. Digression. But like, it's not like I have to remember, when I would have friends or colleagues that would come in from like South America, right? Folks would come in from Argentina, and they'd come in, we'd spend a week together, and we'd do some work. And then when they would leave, they'd go on this like,
they'd shop
Best Buy buying binge, and they'd buy a couple laptops. And I'm like,
of course,
they're not even on sale. What are you doing? And they're like, because at home, we're going to pay a 30 or 40% import duty on this stuff.
Yeah, right.
So they buy them here, and then they immediately shuck them, right? They get rid of all the boxes and all the shit. So when they bring them back, they're like, oh yeah, I travel with 3 laptops. laptops? Of course I do. These aren't gifts.
I took the laptops with me there.
Yeah,
What are you
exactly.
talking
You
about?
don't have the record? What are you talking about? It's like, but there's like this fine line. So when you're ever going through security, like especially at LAX in Tom Bradley International, you'll see people just unloading all these electronics in their carry-on. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing? And that's what they're doing. They're bringing them home because they're getting them for a third off. And I do suspect you're going to see that. I have very fond memories, just talking about this over the weekend, about going across the border to Canada to buy hockey equipment because it was cheaper there and the dollar was actually worth something then.
Sure.
It was like, a buck to like $1.25 or $1.35. So everything was just on sale. It's like, yeah, we're probably going to go back to that.
I went to Japan just at the right time when the dollar was still really strong and everything in Japan just felt super cheap.
Yeah.
Those days are over.
And what was even better about that, not only was the dollar strong, but the Dodgers were strong too. They could actually beat the Cubs in Japan.
Nvidia says it will build AI supercomputers in America for the first time ever.
Them maybe the first time ever, but do you remember Cray? I think they built supercomputers in America.
Sure. It was a different supercomputer had a different definition back then.
Of course.
This is a blog post that they put up. They're going to spend $500 million manufacturing space in Texas and Arizona and at the Texas factories, which will be located in Houston and Dallas.
Yeah.
They're going to build and test AI supercomputers.
Yeah.
Is there any truth to this? They say production will ramp up there in the next 12 to 15 months. You can't build a building in 12 to 15 months.
Yeah, well, I think they already have some existing facilities. I think you're mainly talking about assembly. I think they do have a decent amount of chips that are coming out of factories in the U.S.
Chips are still coming from TSMC.
But they're coming from TSMC in Phoenix. So, like, I'm not sure. Does that qualify?
TSMC Phoenix still can't make those high-end processors.
I thought they were making these. I thought TSMC, the Blackwells, I thought TSMC Phoenix was making. I thought they were making them in Phoenix. Don't know.
I haven't heard that.
Let's just, for the sake of argument, let's assume that it's true. I read this article with an eyebrow up. I'm not entirely sure how much of this is placating or not.
Yeah, totally.
It was unclear to me.
None of this feels true.
Yeah, we'll see. It is a future proposition, right? They're just like, hey, over the next 4 years, we're going to do a ton of this. And we'll just see who remembers.
And just drag their feet and bring this it'll happen as slowly as possible.
I mean, wasn't this the Foxconn story in Wisconsin when Foxconn was like...
Right, and they abandoned that factory.
Yeah, well, they barely got it up.
Right.
Got the factory up, and then they were like, yeah, no. Mm-hmm.
It never became a factory. They got the building up, but they barely got the building up. Yeah.
Yeah, this does feel, let's just say, similar to that time.
Nvidia expects its manufacturing of AI chips and supercomputers create hundreds of thousands of jobs and drive trillions of dollars in economic security over the next few decades.
Yeah, they cut the quote short. They left out the 4 robots part at the end of it.
Oh, that's true. We haven't talked about that.
Yeah.
We did talk about shopping tourism, but how much of automation gets pulled forward? I mean, I think you're going to pull automation forward.
You would hope all of it.
10 years.
You would hope all of it.
Because of these tariffs.
You would hope that's the best outcome from this is that you end up going, well, you have high labor costs, so let's actually automate more. So it could be some net positive effect on that as you end up with more automation. I like the idea of having closer access to at least some ability to make these things, even if it is a more expensive, quote, artisan chip. I like having those facilities here. I'm just not sure it's tenable.
Well, if they're automated, if they're more automated,
more likely to be tenable.
Although there's a lot to automate.
For sure.
We're a long ways away from that.
But like if you had like a factory of robots that could reconfigure themselves and like one day they're making cars and car parts, and one day they're making chips, that'd be super cool. But I don't think that's how this is going to work.
Hey, one is gross motor skills, one is fine motor skills. They probably aren't the same robots.
Good news. I have neither. So neither of those are going to apply here. How about dick jokes? Where's the factory for dick jokes? That's the one I can work in.
That's at your house.
Uh-huh. Oh, wait.
No more motor magnets for the USA. China halts critical rare earth exports as trade war intensifies.
This is so stupid. You can just go on AliExpress and order. Oh, wait.
China has suspended exports of a wide range of critical minerals and magnets, threatening to choke off supplies and components central to automakers, aerospace manufacturers, semiconductor companies, and military contractors around the world.
First of all, let's not gloss over the fact that, like, how do magnets even work?
Magnets, how does that work?
No one knows. Yeah, this turns out to be a problem. So I think there's one mine that's coming online in the U.S. soon that has the ability to produce some of these minerals.
Yeah.
But it's like a fraction of a percent of the demand that we have in the U.S. now, let alone in the future. This is really interesting. So we put this giant tariff on China, got into a little bit of a war with them back and forth, and they just took this one thing, right? They just took like
they found a weak spot. By the way, it's a very small part of their economy. This will not affect them at all.
So they'll barely feel it.
It will bring us to our knees.
Yeah, and now we can no longer make anything that requires magnets, which is basically anything that requires an electric motor. Which, you know,
right. So cars are gone.
It's a lot of things. I don't think we should make an exhaustive list. We're going to be fine on tennis balls. We can still make tennis balls. Most everything else,
that's just
fine.
crazy. Japan has like a 1 year stockpile of rare earth magnets because they had a problem earlier in 2008 where they had supply chain difficulties.
Yep.
And so
2010, something like that. 10 plus years ago. Yeah. So they basically made a strategic like magnet reserve, which I think is just hysterical to think of.
Kind of smart.
Super smart, right? They were like, wait, we've been screwed in this before. We have too much industry dependent on it. We're going to buy ourselves at least a year of time to deal with it by having some reserve.
Meanwhile, U.S. automakers have like a 10-minute reserve because they don't want to be
why would you sell
cash,
inventory? Yeah,
right,
sure.
Putting cash in inventory that they're just sitting on.
This may be the first. This is not the last of these many like single items are going to just bring manufacturing and development of products to its knees in many cases.
I'm not sure you need any more. I think this might be it. 6 heavy rare earth metals.
I think this is the one, yeah.
Because you can't make an iron ore magnet that does the same thing.
Yeah, maybe you get some engineering out of this that finds some alternate solution, but that takes some time. But fortunately, we're still funding the science entities, especially the ones that explore space well, to do that kind of research. We're not actually. That funding's all been cut. So this is going to be bad, I believe. Now, my hunch is the reason it may not be bad is it's likely going to change. This is a leverage point, and I think this will change here very quickly.
China doesn't seem to be changing directions willy-nilly. And by the way, this is truly a vulnerable spot for the U.S.
For sure.
I don't know how we get around this.
Well, we should just outsource more manufacturing to China, and then the problem will be solved.
Great.
That was the goal, right?
Drones, robotics, all this stuff, it all requires these rare earth metals.
Everything requires these rare earth metals. You want to make it, it requires it. If it moves, if it has any motion to it, it probably uses these components.
Because if you bring a regular iron ore magnet next to an electrical field, you now don't have a magnet. If you bring the iron ore magnet up to temperature, up to a certain temperature, you don't have a magnet anymore. You have to use these rare earth metals.
Yeah, magnets are amazing that they even work, but when you apply heat to them, it gets way worse.
Unless you start with the rare earth metals. So.
Yes, which fortunately we don't have.
Okay,
lucky us.
On that grim note, enough with the headlines. In fact, enough with the episode. We have to get out of here. Special thanks to our floor director, Josh Niv.
Thanks for putting up with us. This is impossible to say.
I know.
I want to say thanks for putting up with us, Josh, but it's not possible.
Say it again.
Thanks, Josh.
We'll be back later this week with the mechanics of how we buy and consume things, from brick and mortar to online to manufacturer direct and on demand. Until then, thank you for listening to all this nonsense. I'm Jeff Parker.
Wait a minute, the tariffs are off. Buy some more shit. Quick. I'm CJ Little.
Hasta luego.
Goodbye. Now, Jeff, I know you, and I know you like to troll the local mall for bargains, right? It's your favorite thing to do. Well, Jeff, there's no need to wander from store to store anymore because a new service will notify you by your futuristic web-enabled phone or PDA about specific discounts based on your exact whereabouts at that moment.
Incredible.
GPS.com is testing in New York and San Francisco and will be accessible over the internet initially through WAP phones, Palm PDAs, and Windows CE devices. Later, you'll be able to use it on internet-enabled pagers and other wireless devices capable of displaying HTML.
What's that?
Nobody knows. The aim of GPS.com's shopping scenario is to bring brick-and-mortar retailers the same advantage that e-commerce brought to e-tailers: dynamic interaction between consumers and conventional stores. That's GPS.com. GEEPS.com.
I smell 2000.
You were right. I found this in July of 2000.
Yeah. What's at that URL now?
Believe it or not, it's an under construction page, which I think is hysterical. So apparently it's coming soon.
Of course it is.
25 years later. They're almost got it.
No, they blew up in 2001, I promise you.
Oh, without a doubt.
Went up
Yeah,
in
these
smoke.
guys did. Yeah, completely. Long gone.